Look at this beautiful painting done by Abbey from the United States. It represents their friend who does Irish dancing, and they said that they were having some problems with foreshortening and just the overall painting in general. I think it's beautiful, but they did ask me for some help, and I'm going to do my best to help them. So Abby's note says, I'm struggling to get depth with this piece without messing up the art. This piece represents my friend at Irish dance practice. I tried to incorporate a bit of foreshortening with the leg. I'm also not sure if it's coming through that the wall on the left is a mirror. Any tips or advice? Thanks, Abby. Again, I think this is a beautiful piece. I really love the composition. I love how the character's off a little bit to the right, and I love the mirror on the left. The only thing I'm noticing initially is that the whole piece is kind of all in the same value. The darkest part is just the pants right here. But overall, for everything from the socks to the skin tones to the walls, everything is pretty much the same value, which makes it a little hard to tell your story. So the first thing I do whenever I'm struggling with a piece is I usually just go in and just start outlining things, just trying to find the shapes. And you've got some really nice shapes. The legs look really good, and I really like where you're going with this. Maybe I might add a little indication of where the kneecap is. Other than that, it's really good. It's just, I'm separating it right now just mentally from the background. I'm just trying to pull your character out of the background. Right now, they're at the same value. The other thing is the foot is at an angle off to the side, and I don't know if that's a part of Irish dance or if that is unintentional. So I'm going to grab a piece of tracing paper, and I just want to visualize what the foot might look like if it was following along the same line as the leg, which would be something, I guess, like this. And for the record, I hate drawing feet, so it's probably not going to be perfect, but just finding the shape right here, I think would be the foot in a kind of pointed direction. And this might be totally wrong for Irish dance. I don't know much about Irish dance. I don't know anything about Irish dance, but this is the flow of the leg as I see it. That's my first thought. I wasn't given any photo reference or anything, but that's my first thought. But let's assume that this is the angle that is needed for Irish dance. The next thing I think you might want to do is just work on the shape of the foot a little bit. Again, I wish I could say feet are my specialty. I try to avoid them as often as possible. So usually I would want some sort of photo reference. But I think you're going to want to add some sort of stitching to your socks. I did a quick Google search of socks, and do you see that little line? That's like where they sewed the socks. Add that. It gives your clothing more texture. It gives them a little bit more believability. Add that if you want to, and it'll also help the viewer kind of believe that they're socks and not just stark white feet. The little ribbing on the cuffs there, that will help too. I saw that you had it, but just maybe make it a little bit more believable. And maybe a little bit of shadow underneath that could help. All of these are just, again, suggestions, but any kind of texture you can add that separates the sock from the skin is a good thing. And we want to separate the character from the background in some way. And the first thing I thought of was the wall behind will create a really nice shape. If you just darken it up just a little bit, just give it some shadow, just put it in shadow a little bit, and then look at how your character pops with just a little bit of darkness on that wall back there. You see that? So you can do that. And I noticed that there's multiple kind of like panels of wall. So you don't have to do it for the other panel, but you would want to maybe give it a little bit of a different kind of texture or something like that. You don't want it to be really black, because that's going to take your eye to the wall, and you don't want that. You just want it just 30% darker. And then in the reflected image, it's only going to be maybe 10% darker. You see how I'm not pushing down as hard? just to show that that wall is being reflected, but not at 100%, just to kind of give it a feeling of the reflection not having as much intensity as the real thing. And then I'm going to add some horizontal textures on this panel, some diagonal textures on that panel. You can do whatever you want to, but just to show that these are panels of wood or panels of whatever that material is that they would use in a home. That would, I don't know. And then the roof. The ceiling could be a little bit darker. Again, just to give you a sense that that's in the background and your character is in the foreground. So I'm just using just a colored pencil right now. Obviously you would use paint, but just using that to just kind of push it a little bit. And then I'm defining the wall. I want to see where that wall is. And now, what if you added, again, just a suggestion, but what if you added a wood floor? Like, what is the floor made of? Is it concrete? I tend to, in my mind, think that it would be like a wood floor, in which case you'd have these long panels of wood coming out in, I'm just kind of fumbling through my perspective just really, really quickly, but you'll have these long panels of wood and they're not going to be that long. So they're going to come in these little sections. So you're going to add little horizontal sections to the wood here and there. And now you've got a world. You've got some thought that goes into this. Not that you didn't put thought into it, just now you can add a little bit of wood texture if you wanted to. It could be very, very subtle because, again, we don't want to take away from your character, but we want to put your character into an environment that exists, that people will find believable. And I really think that usually that comes down to texture. It just comes down to people being able to see a texture and say, that is wood, that is a bush, that is cotton, that is fabric, that is skin. Just being able to see that texture. And again, in the mirror, I'm going to do everything lightly. Now, the crack, I think the crack is great. I would define it a little more. It feels like it's a part of the story in some way. The way I see it is you have this crack and then there's going to be a wall behind it. So we need to kind of add a little bit of texture for that. I'm again just defining the shapes a little bit. Where the mirror ends should have a defining line. It should just have a little bit, not a single line, but give it 2 lines because it's going to have thickness. And then you can add a little bit of shadow underneath your character too. There's light. Where there's light, there's going to be shadow. So it could be very, very subtle, but you can add just some shadow to put them into this world. And if you want to, this sock could be in shadow too, because the leg is coming out over it. But you can have some shadow, and now your character is interacting with that floor. It feels a little bit more grounded. So again, what we're trying to do is we're trying to pick where our story is. And at least what I'm doing is I'm making the focus the sock, this foot. That's coming right at us. And to do that, we want that to be the whitest thing. And then we want to push everything else back. So anything we could do, whether it's add shadow to that leg behind it, but anything we could do to kind of draw your attention to that foot, that's what I'm doing right now. Okay, another thing I noticed was the hands. The hands have really no definition, so I would probably add a little bit of definition. Where are the fingers and how do we define that? So I'm just gonna draw out the fingers a little bit. It looks like they're making a fist. We don't want their hand to be too small, but for now, let's just pretend that I'm drawing a nice hand right now. And the other hand, it feels like there's no thumb, and I don't know where the thumb is. And if the thumb would be on the inside, like see right there, that's where your thumb would be. So somehow we've got to show the thumb on this hand. And so I'm just going to draw a little thumb right there. And that would be at least, if their hand is the top of their hand facing us, that would indicate at least that that's where their thumb is. So I would add that. And again, another thing you could do without changing any values or colors is you can add a little bit of texture. This could be spackle, it could be a wallpaper, it could be anything, but adding just some texture to different materials will at least give your audience a visual marker as to what to look for. And that's about all I could do with just a colored pencil to kind of show you things. I'm going to try something now. This is going to change your painting a bit, so just take this with a grain of salt, but I'm going to try a little bit of markers and try to, as subtly as I can with markers, add a little bit of warmth to the wood grain just to see what happens. So this is not, you need to do this. Nothing I'm saying is you need to do this, but this is just, let's see what it looks like. Because right now the entire piece is blue with the only thing of any warmth being the skin tone. And that's a really nice thing. I think your biggest problem is just value. Just you need a little bit more value, darker darks and lighter lights. That's it. But just for fun, we're going to try adding a little bit of color just to see what would happen. So I'm going to add, if you see, I'm adding very, very subtle in the mirror image and a little bit more powerful in the real world image. And I'm just going to add a little bit of tone, a little bit of lavender to the back wall and see how it makes your character pop a little more. Now, it might be too much for you. It might be not right for the piece, and that's totally fine. This is just us playing around on a color copy, on a printout, just to see. And that's something that you can do whenever you want to. You could just print it out and play around with it and see what you like. It's a very easy way to see all of the what ifs. What if I tried this? What if I tried that? Without ruining your art. Another way to do it is digitally. You could take it into Photoshop or Affinity and just adjust some values or add some colors and see what you like. Okay, I had to speed up that last bit because it was just a lot of me noodling. But I'm thinking that we need to kind of define what's behind the crack. This is too much. That's a little too dark. So I'm going to try to lighten that up. And no, I think that's still too dark. So I'm going to take an acrylic marker and see what I can do, because we don't want our eye to go to that. We want to be able to, it should be subtle is what we're looking for, because I liked it, because I noticed it when I first saw your piece. I liked it, but we don't want it to be the main attraction. We want the character to be the main attraction. So you want to do just something a little bit like that, just that shows that there's something behind there. There's a texture, there's rock or concrete or something behind that broken mirror. And then the other thing, the last thing, the only other thing I could think of that you might want to try is maybe to add your dancer, your character in the mirror. Maybe just a little subtlety, a little hint of them. And again, these are suggestions. This is just me doing my best to give you some options that you can explore if you want to. You were obviously feeling like it wasn't 100% there, like there could be a little more you could do for your art, and you asked me what I thought. And there is no one way to fix any piece of art. Not every piece of art needs to be fixed. Sometimes we're so down on ourselves that we don't see how good something is. But hopefully there's something here, some little tidbit that I'm able to give you that helps you. And I hope this helped in some way, Abby. You are an amazing artist and your painting is absolutely beautiful. And I hope your friend really likes it and appreciates the amount of work that went into it. And I look forward to seeing more of your work soon.